Hey, hello everybody, it's your boy Durf, and welcome back to Skrep Makenik. So today we're going to be checking out a boo that I built. It was originally a suggestion that somebody gave to me on Discord, and I decided to build it on a live stream. It was quite the challenging build. Well, it wasn't too challenging, it was just sort of like really tedious. And it took me 4 hours to build on a live stream. But I'm super glad that I took the time to actually build it, because I'm pretty happy with the results. So we're going to take a look and see how this works, take a look at all the logic, and then after that we're going to blow this guy up. So this guy uses some mod pack invisible parts, just some pipes and wheels, to create sort of a tank tread underneath him, and that's how he's able to be such a floaty boy. Now for the arms, I'm actually using a part that's now found in the mod pack legacy support, because we're going to be making a new version of it later on. But it's the on-off block. You might have seen a video that Con Gaming has made recently using the on-off block. So that's used for both the arms. As you can see, there's the chasing arms and the blushing arms, where he's all super shy and he's covering his face. Or at least trying to, because they're really stubby arms. So it's just a really simple mechanism. If he's either chasing or not chasing, it'll turn off one set of arms and turn on the other. And then we're doing a similar mechanism with the face, where we're using the color blocks from the mod pack. And we have both faces in this section right here, and we're just switching between which colors the color block shows for the blushing face or the chasing face. So let's take a look inside this guy and see how all of this works. So this is what the inside of the boo looks like. Oh, I was actually really lucky not to cut that logic gate off. Anyway, so let's start with the following mechanism. The following mechanism is a orient block that's targeting the player, and this is the orient block that's controlling the tank treads at the bottom. We only need one axis of movement, which is turning, so it's just going to turn towards our player. It doesn't actually need to pitch up or down. So here we have the AD converter for the turning, and that will send half of the power. This is just a setting that we're using for dividing by 2. We're getting the turn signal, dividing it by 2. And we're doing that because these engines here that are actually going to the tank treads, they take a value between -1 and 1. So we want the turning to be a maximum of 0.5, so that the drive signal can be the next, like the other half, the other 0.5, to be the full signal of 1. So we're dividing that by half. The result of that is being added to each side, and that's going to each tank tread. So already we have the turning. Now the drive signal is just a value of 1, which also gets divided by 2 and also gets sent to each side. Now the drive signal actually turns on and off depending on this back section over here. Now this back section has 2 orient blocks. So one of them is set to target the player, and the other one is set to target the camera angle. And they don't have any pitch controls. They're only going to be turning left and right. So these orient blocks go to the AD converters, they go to the engine, and they spin the orient block around to point towards their target. So since one of them is going to be targeting the player and the other one's going to be targeting the camera angle, I stuck these compasses on top of the orient blocks themselves. So I'll always be able to get the angle that these orient blocks are pointing. Now the idea is that if the player targeting orient block is pointed towards me, then the camera angle is going to be pointing away the opposite direction from this orient block if I'm looking right at this. So if I'm in front of the boo, like over here, this orient block is going to be pointing towards me, but the camera angle is going to be pointing wherever I'm pointing my mouse. And if that's pointing the exact opposite angle, then it's going to, that's the state in which I'm looking at the boo. So over here, I actually just have a couple of readouts for the compass, where here I'm just adding 180 to each compass readout just to make sure it's positive, because the compass readouts go from -180 to +180, so doing this just makes it go from 0 to 360. Now these addition blocks, I'm feeding them both into a subtraction function just so that I can get the difference between the two angles, and I'm also getting the absolute value of those angles just to make sure that it's not a negative number, because if one of them is greater than the other one and I'm subtracting it, then it's going to turn out to be a negative number. So I just want to make sure that's a positive number. And this actually it doesn't matter which one is greater than or less than. It just, all I need to know is the difference. So what I have here is a less than or equals to function, and this is a greater than or equals to function. And in each of these counter blocks, I have just, like a different number. I think I put, what was it? It was like 205 degrees and 165 degrees. So like it gives an area, like a cone shape that it gives like a threshold. There we go, that's the word I was looking for. It gives a threshold to the angles that you can look at the boo. So what these comparison blocks do is they compare the compass angles, and if you're outside of the threshold, then one of these blocks will turn on, which turns on the logic gate over here and turns on the drive signal to drive the boo towards you. So if you're within the threshold, if the camera orient block is exactly opposite of the player orient block, within the threshold of course, then both of these will be off, and that turns off the drive signal. The boo will still turn to face towards the player, but it's not going to drive towards the player. Even though we're facing the boo, it's still turning towards us, and it's not until we point away, I think it's like 15 degrees on either side, that the drive function gets activated. And that logic gate will also activate the other stuff, like the face animation and the arms animation. So let's check out how that was built real quick. So when the drive signal of the boo is on and we're actually chasing the player, these logic gates on the side activate, which activates all of the on-off blocks on the side that form the chasing arm. And that is the same for both sides. And for the blushing animation, I have a second set of logic gates over here, which turns on when this is off. And so when the boo is not chasing the player, the blushing arms will activate. Which, I don't know if you can see them right now. Yeah, you can't see them right now, but they're there. And they will activate when we're looking directly at the boo. Now the face animation was actually one of the more tedious parts of this build. I actually had to store all of the individual sections that change in the boo's face. So for example, like the eyebrows and the top of the eyes had to change, but you can sort of see in the shadow here the resulting area where the blush will show up. And because that's actually covering the bottom half of the eyes, I actually have to separate those eyes, those pupils, into two sections. Basically, the face has two states. In state 1, it's going to be the chasing face, and in state 2, it's going to be the blushing face. So for the section of the eyebrows, for example, state 1, these color blocks are going to show up black, but state 2, they're going to show up white, since there's no eyebrows up there. And same thing with the tops of the eyes. They're going to show up this gray color when they're chasing, and white when they're not chasing. But for the bottom of the eyes, they actually have to show up gray when they're chasing, but then that sort of pinkish color when they're not chasing, when the boo has a blushing face. So for each section like this, I have to separate all of these sections that overlap and give them their separate color values. And that was actually really easy to do, but it was just a very tedious process. So you can see here, these are actually all the colors for both of the faces. We have, what was the orange? Oh, orange represents white. I forgot about that. So this orange memory panel represents all the white colors that is going to be in the face. We have the two blush colors, the black, the gray for the eyeballs, and the reds for the mouth and tongue. They're actually not needed anymore. They're not actually wired up anymore. But I had to store all of these color values into these different memory panels. Each of these memory panels represents a section. So the very top one represents the eyebrows. The next one represents the eye pupils. And each memory panel below that is dedicated to its own section. Like these are the mouth section. These are the blush sections, the cheeks on the side. Because there's actually three sections for the cheek. There's the main cheek section, the cheek section that overlaps with the top lip, and the cheek section that overlaps with the mouth red. So as I explained earlier, each of these sections just store two colors, and that's where these memory panels come in handy, because they're just wired up to the sections of the face that need to change colors. So the face switching mechanism is actually just wired up to the one of the chase arms logic gate. and it's just connected straight to this number over here, this white painted number, which will activate all of these memory panels to switch from slot 0 to slot 1, which changes their values from face 1 to phase 2. So whatever color they're storing in slot 0, I think that's the chasing face, but if in slot 1, if we just change this to slot 1, they will automatically change to the blushing face. And that's sort of how I animated the face. And as you can see, it was quite the tedious job to do all that wiring. But overall, not really a complicated build, just a lot of work. Alright, so now let's go ahead and blow this thing up, but what I want to do is something that someone suggested during the live stream when I was building this thing. Let's have it blow up after 10 seconds of looking at it. If we're not looking at it, it will reset the timer. So that's actually really simple to do. Let's go ahead and we're just gonna use this guy because I'm not gonna upload a version that blows up on the workshop. You're gonna get the original version that doesn't blow up. Okay, that should be it. We're all wired up with dynamite. Let's go ahead and save this on the left just in case I messed something up. Does this boo blow up after 10 seconds? Let's find out. 1. No. We gotta count from 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, that was much better than I expected. So much damage. It's almost completely gone.
Now that's a lot of damage!
So I'm gonna go ahead and upload this guy to the workshop for you guys to enjoy, and the link will be in the description. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, let me know what you think down in the comments below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!